are now live again. Let me just put a message into our student chat. Okay, and I'll put some glasses on as well because I should be wearing these when I'm looking at a computer. Okay, right, so we've not got anyone with us at the moment, but that's okay. We'll get through this anyway. So let's get rid of Twitter and let's start to load up some homework. Okay. Right, so we have 17 pieces of homework. Looks like we've got some from week 2 and 3 here. So let's just take a quick look at these. This one should just be HTML, I believe, because this has been sent for week 2. So let's take a look. Okay, so this homework is just the semantic HTML one, and I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but hopefully you can. Feel free to let me know in the chat or anything like that. Hey Finch, hello. Hey Finch, I'm not sure who you are, but hello, it's good to have you with us. Yeah, so this is just the semantic HTML homework. This looks good, so that's fine. We can mark this one as, we can mark that one as complete. I've just clicked away from it by accident now. Here we go. Okay, so that one's fine. Okay, have we got any more from week 3? Okay, so we have one from Alessandra as well. Okay, it's Alessandra. Hey, good to have you with us. I'm looking at your homework right now. Okay, so there was that issue you had regarding your website not appearing on Netlify. We can certainly try to figure out why that is. I mean, in an ideal world, it would be really good if I could speak with you so that you can explain what's going on a bit more. But I understand you might not be too comfortable doing that. But looking at this website, okay, so okay, let's have a look at the style. Okay, cool. So that's good. So you've got CSS in here as well, and that all looks fine. So the issue you had regarding it not going on to Netlify, it's really difficult for me to understand with just your GitHub repository because I need to see how you've connected things up. One thing I can observe though is that you've got everything inside of this task 1004 folder. So if you're uploading just the contents of this folder, in other words, these 5 files, then hopefully it should be okay. But if you're uploading everything inside of this task 1004 folder, then you might have a problem. So in other words, upload the contents of the folder. Don't upload the entire folder. So that might be an issue that you're having. So I would check to see if that's the issue. If it isn't that and you have just uploaded the contents of the folder, then let me know in the comments and we can start to, we can maybe try to figure it out. But in an ideal world, I would have access to your, maybe to your Netlify account so that I can see it, or at least you just talk me through the setup that you have. But this looks good as homework anyway, so we can mark that as complete. Okay, so now let's start to take a look at some more. We will start to clone some repositories. So let's just go into this folder here. Okay, so yeah, you're saying you've uploaded the folder. So okay, so yeah, try uploading just the contents and let me know how you get on. Hopefully that fixes the problem. Okay. Right, so let's start cloning some repositories. Okay, so this one's not found. Okay, so that means we've uploaded something not quite right as the URL. And as we can see here, this page isn't found. So that's not a good start. Let's see what happens if we just try to look at the username. Okay, so what was the name of this homework? Assignment 4. I don't see anything here that says assignment 4. I can only see assignment 3, 2. We've got Stack Squad. It's really difficult to understand what it is that I'm looking at here. So I can't mark this as complete. So if you are watching this, then you will need to submit the correct URL for your homework. So that one's incomplete. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Let's try and clone this. Okay, cool. So that one cloned fine. Okay, so this is interesting. So you've got everything inside of one file here, and this URL is not very good. This needs to be cleaned up. So this really should just say index rather than that really long title that you had. Okay, so I can see a couple of issues here. We'll talk about those in a moment. Let's just try and load this up in a live server and see what happens. Okay, so we've got okay, so this is interesting. We've got a calendar here as well. Is this an image or no? This looks like a nice grid that you've made here. So that's good. Let's take a look. Okay. So this is interesting. I like this. Look, this is a really nice clean grid that you've made here. So that's really cool. I like that. Interesting use of grid as well to make a calendar. So creative. One thing that we noticed is if we take a look at this file here, we can see we've got some, and let me make the screen bigger because I think that's probably quite difficult to make out on a smaller screen. So you can see here that we've got these kind of red squiggly lines appearing, and that means we've made a mistake here. So this reminds me of one of the issues that I believe Hafiz had recently, where there was it wasn't quite sure how to use the media query. So he might even notice here that we've not got our media query. We've not got the curly braces on our media query, which kind of ends up breaking all of these styles. And as a result, it's really difficult to understand where this is meant to end. I'm guessing here. No, not there. Oh yeah, no, it is, I think. No, it's not. Okay, so that causes a problem in itself. Another thing, though, is I don't really understand why you've put all of the styles in the same file as the HTML. It's not the worst thing in the world or anything like that, but you end up having this really big file that could easily be broken down into smaller parts. That makes it easier to reason with, easier to just kind of understand what's going on. And you can see here we've got these problems here. So what this makes me think is that you're coding in an environment that is not optimized for development. So hopefully you're using VS Code. If you are, that's a good start. But the next thing you need to do is get some of these extensions installed. So some of these things that Piero has been talking about this week, they will help to stop these kind of mistakes from happening. And yeah, I mean, ultimately we can see that our CSS is broken. Now the thing is, what happens is it's broken. The VS Code will tell you it's broken, but when you load up the website, it's still going to load up. There will be things that aren't working though, like some of the CSS. So the problem is you don't get that kind of immediate feedback from the browser saying you've made a mistake. You do get this sometimes with JavaScript, but not so much with CSS and HTML, because the browser would just try to make it work. It would try to fill in gaps sometimes. But ultimately, yeah, we've got some problems here, and I would suggest looking into that. As an aside as well, we've also spelt navigation wrong there. So, which is obviously not good, because even if your media query was correctly structured, that's still not going to work because it's spelled incorrect. So you just need to be a bit more careful when you're writing CSS and just code in general. Nevertheless, we're going to mark this one as complete because the task itself was to use grid, use or flex, use media queries and things like that. And I really liked the way that you used grid to create that calendar. I thought that was really cool. So that's fine. Right, let's take a look at Kabir's. Okay, oops, made a mistake. Okay, so we've got another one here where the repository is not found. That's not a good start, is it? Okay, let's try and load this one up. Oh, Kabir, what's happened here? Another piece of homework that where the URL doesn't look right. So now I don't know which one this is. And by the looks of it, you've not uploaded anything in the past couple of weeks. So something's not quite right there. I have a feeling what you've done is you've uploaded a private repository. It needs to be public. If it's private, the only person who can access it is yourself. If it's public, anyone can access it, which means that I can review your homework. So we have to mark that as incomplete for now. And I'll try and leave a message in the Discord about that, because that's really important to make sure that your repositories are public. Okay, right. So now we have Raphael's homework, and this one cloned well, so that's fine. That's good to know. This looks like a good setup as well with the file structure you've got here. Interesting that you've also got a package.json in there. That's interesting. Let's see what you're using it for. Okay. So nothing in particular really. No real need for this, but it's cool. Okay. So we've got lots of icons and things in here. That's fine. One thing we can see here, though, is probably your CSS hasn't loaded up. And I reckon we know why that is, because I have a feeling it's the same issues that we've seen before. Okay. So here we can see something that doesn't look quite right, because we've got this style, these two hrefs are not consistent with one another. One's got a / at the beginning, the other one's got a dot /. So let's put a dot at the start of this one, and take a look at our page, and we can see now it's got all of the CSS. So that's good, and this looks nice. Interesting website. So clearly you're interested in Bitcoin and stuff like that. So that's cool. Nice design as well. Like Like these buttons look really good. The the little backdrop, like the shadow you've got around it. That's cool. So, and yeah, generally this website looks really nice. Like you've got an eye for design as well, so that's cool. So, and judging by the CSS as well, I can see you using variables. So that's really nice. You're kind of using some of these more advanced features, like we can see here in the root. We've got all of these variables. So that's a nice way to do it. So Hafiz pointed at this tablet CSS. So this looks fine. It looks like the setup for that's fine. Because if we have a look, we've got this CSS folder on the left, and then we've got tablets inside of it. So that's cool. And you've also used block element modifier as your kind of CSS property methodology. So that's cool. That's nice. And presumably you're using it here in style as well. Yeah, you are. Okay, so that's great. Okay. Yeah, this looks interesting, so that's fine. Okay, that's good. Good homework. I like that. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Gonzalo. Just take a sip of water. Uh-oh, same again. It's not loading up. Is this another private repository? No, it seems to be okay. So that's weird that it didn't load. Did I make a mistake? No, it doesn't look like I did. It said it was just not found. Okay. Right, so the problem here is that you're uploading all of your repositories, sorry, all of your code, all of your homework in the same repository. What you need to be doing is uploading them into separate repositories. And avoid this kind of folder structure here that we've created, where you've got Stackademic as the repository, and then you've got these separate homework folders. It's not a good practice. So, okay, we'll take that URL and clone it. Okay. Right. Okay, interesting. So this looks pretty good. Let's see what happens as we get smaller. Ah, nice. Okay, cool. So that looks good. How have we done that? What have we used? Have we used Flex or have we used Grid? Okay, cool. So it looks like we've used Grid. You can see that here as well, because actually maybe you can't see that in on the screen. But yeah, anyway, it's used Grid, and this is a really nice implementation of that. So that's cool. I like that. One thing we could maybe look to improve in the future is something to do with this kind of, I don't know if you can really see it, but on this 6th image, there's this kind of, these lines aren't aligned. So maybe that's something we can work on. We start to see it more as we get that. So maybe there's something we could do where these are percentage based. I mean, to be fair, it looks cool though. It's fun. So that's good homework, and looks like we've got everything set up properly here as well. So the nice thing as well, interestingly, is that actually this is something we should point out. So you'll see here on this href for the style sheet, it works without the slash and the dot. There's basically 2 ways you can do it. If it's in the same folder, you can just write the name, or you put a dot and a forward slash. So either of those would work, but this wouldn't. So you need either dot, forward slash, or just none of them, neither. Okay, so that's good homework. So let's see how many more we've got left. If anyone in the chat has any questions or anything as well, please feel free to ask them, and I'll try my best to answer. Meantime, we will upload, we'll clone Predators, Preditya, her homework. Okay. Wait a minute. This is the same homework. That's confusing. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that one's fine then. Maybe, maybe actually, I'm confused. I'm not too sure anymore. Never mind. Okay, so we've got another repository that's not found. This is not good. Okay, that's strange. Let's try it again. Okay, looks like it's working now. No questions, Hafiz. Okay, that's a shame. It's always good when we have a question from you. Okay. Right, where is the content? Is there anything in here? Let's check these. Or is my computer just being weird? Because there's definitely some content here. Let's try this again. Hafiz, your questions aren't stupid. Don't put yourself down. Right, something's not right here because I'm cloning the repositories and there's just nothing appearing. But I can see code here. Okay, that's strange. In this case, we'll have to just review it here. So, I mean, the CSS all looks, sorry, the HTML looks great. So no issues with that. Let's take a look at the CSS. Okay, cool. So using grid for the gallery. Okay, cool. Interesting way to do it as well. This looks fine. Okay, so that's fine. That all looks good. It's a shame we can't take a look at it properly though, because it looks interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at the next one. Oh, not again. We've got another one where the repository is not found. Right, what's causing this? Okay, so again, what we need to make sure we're doing is uploading the repository link. Okay, so not a folder in the repository, which is what we've got here, but we need this. We need either the root of the repository, or if you want, you can click on this code button, grab this link here, and you can just send that one as the homework. Okay. I definitely need to spend a lesson going through Git with all of you at some point. Okay, so you have a question, Alessandra. Okay, I can see that some of the links that I'm guessing you're still writing something, so I'll wait a moment. Okay. You can see that some of the links have been uploaded with Git at the end. Yeah, so that's fine. That's cool. If they're uploaded with Git at the end, oh, what is the difference, if any? That's a good question. So, if it's the root of the repository, and when we say root, what we mean is like the ground floor. If you think of it like that, if you think of the ground floor of a house, and then the folders are their own floors, we want the ground floor. Now, when you clone a repository, which is what I'm doing in VS Code, it's automatically going to put .git at the end. So if it's without it, it's fine. It will still work. If it's with it, that's fine as well. That's how it should be. But either or is okay as long as you're uploading the root, the ground floor, then it will work. So .git in this case is just the file name, like how your HTML or index.html, the file type is .html. When we clone Git repositories, the file name is .git. So it just adds it on automatically. I hope that kind of clears it up and makes sense a bit. Okay, so right, so this homework has not loaded up. So let me just try that again. Ah, here we go. Okay. Okay. So first thing I can see is that image doesn't look quite right. Okay, yeah, because your submissions end with Git, so that's good. That's how it should be, really. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so looks like we probably need some work on this website. So, because a couple of things I can see here is that the this image that we've got in the top left-hand corner is kind of, it's doing its own thing, and it shouldn't be. Like, for example, here it's like it's spilling over into the next line, and that's not good. And then as we get smaller, it's just really small, and like you can't see it anymore. So okay, so let's see why that is. Okay, so this is a peculiar way to have it, the width and the height of 30%. Okay, so some of you may remember us saying that setting a height is not really a good idea. What we could do maybe is display block, and then we're going to put a max width on it of 100%. Okay, so, or we could do 100% max width 200 pixels or 300 pixels. And now let's see what happens. Okay, so it's staying in the middle, and as we see, it doesn't start to just kind of shrink and grow, which is not really what you want from the logo on a website. That logo should just stay where it's meant to. Now, it's in the middle because we've set it to block and we've got margin auto. But if If you wanted it to just stay on the left-hand side, then we could do margin 0. And now as we increase and decrease, it doesn't shrink until it gets too small. But really, most phones these days are not smaller than 320 pixels in width. That's the size of an iPhone 4. I think iPhone 3 before was 300 pixels. So really, when you're doing mobile design, the smallest really you should think about is maybe 320 pixels in width, maybe even a little bit bigger these days. But anyway, that's something to think about. And then, of course, we've got an issue with this navigation here because it does kind of look a bit messy. So I think this is because we're not using things like flex. So we've got this list here. In fact, let's just take a look at the file. Okay, to be fair, maybe that's because I'm looking at one of your older homeworks. And this is the problem when we have all of the homework in the same folder and the same repository. It's like we end up making things like this. So let's take a look at this one instead, where hopefully we've made some improvements since then. Okay, so this is looking a lot better. Okay, so presumably this is the initial design because we've gone for a mobile first approach. So this is nice. I like the kind of like, you've got your little search magnifying glass here. We've got just a simple logo of M. I'm not sure whether those glasses are meant to be like that or not. So let's just double check. Okay, yeah, so it is just half of it. Okay, so this looks pretty good. I like this. Let's just see what's going on here, though, because I'm guessing this isn't how you wanted your form to look. So let's see what is going on with this login button. Okay, so one thing we could do is put display block on this, which will make it take up the entire width. And then we could put margin auto, and then it's in the middle now. So for anyone who can't remember what auto does, it's basically just fill in the space, as in push the thing to, fill in the space. But if you just do margin auto, it's doing fill in the space on the top, the right, the bottom, and the left, which just pushes the content into the middle. Another thing we could do here, though, just to clean this up a bit more, is maybe put 100% on the width. Or if we want to, and then I'd do something like that, maybe put some padding on it, just push it on the sides a little bit. And then I'd also fix this input here and do the same. Make it 100%. Padding. But it looks like it's spilling over, which means there's something else going on here. I think, wait, has this got thingy box sizing? Okay, so it has got that. Yeah, it's because we've got this margin as well. So what we could do is say, okay, I want the margin just on the top and bottom, but I don't need it on the left and right. Even still, something's not quite right here. It shouldn't be spilling over like that. So there's something else that's impacting on it. Anyway, something for us to look into at another point. But in terms of the design and everything, it's really good. I like that. Right, we'll try and look at a couple more, and then we'll end it there because my voice is going. As I had quite a few meetings over the past 24 hours. Oh, interesting. This looks really cool. I really like this one. Whose is this? Javi. Okay, so first thing I'm saying is I really like this design. So that's really nice. And Hafiz, you want me to review something? Share it, and I'll take a look. If it's a link, just put it in the chat. Okay. So really interesting thing as well is not just the fact that you've got a grid doing this, like creating this, and then we're also putting padding on each one on the right hand side to push them down. So not just that. I actually want to just take a moment to talk about the design of this because I think it's really nice. This might just be the most interesting design I've seen so far from any of the students. So this is this just shows that you've kind of got that creative flair. Makes me think that you've done this kind of thing before, because I would be really surprised if this was like the first time you've designed something. But a really interesting thing is the fact that you've got this text here, and I thought initially you might have an image. I thought this is maybe one image, but it's not. You've actually got separate bits here. So how have we rotated the text? Let's have a look. You can see here that we've got this transform property and we're rotating it. Really cool thing as well in Chrome Developer Tools is, I don't know if you can see it in the thing, but there's this little circular thing here, and you can just rotate it. And you can see as I rotate it, all of the text on the page is turning around as well. So that's really like that. That's cool. So for example, if we wanted it to be the other way around for some reason, we could do that. Although it wouldn't really make sense. It works on this side because then the text is almost facing the person. So this is really nice. Like, yeah, I really like this homework. So Hafiz, you've asked me to mark and review something. I'm still waiting for you to share it. In the meantime, I'll take a look at one more. Okay. Okay. Right, so let's see what we've done. Okay, you've put it here in the chat. I can't see it, which makes me think that possibly it's filtering out links. So you're gonna, if you send it to me in Discord instead, Hafiz, and then hopefully I can see it. So it's strange, but yeah, it must be filtering out URLs in case people put spam in there. Okay, so okay, so we're using flex as well. That's cool, and we can see here we've got these 3 images. As we get smaller, it eventually turns into like this. So that's cool. So well done with that. What happens with the navigation as we get smaller? Okay, so a couple of things need some work here. This navigation would also benefit from turning into a column. So at a certain breakpoint, I would have done flex direction, or flex flow, I should say, column. And then maybe we can start to do something like align items, center. Ideally, this laptop image as well should sit above them. So maybe what we could do here is flex flow column. There we go. So we're starting to get close to something that doesn't look looks a bit better. And then what we need to do is take the margin left off of those, and then this starts to look a bit cleaner now. So hopefully you can see that in the where that is. Cool. Okay, so we'll mark this one as complete, and then let's take a look at this link that Hafiz has sent. So there's a few more homeworks to mark. I'm sorry I've not had a chance to look at them. I will just do it later on or tomorrow, but it probably won't be in a homework review session. I'll just kind of do it myself. But let's take a look at this link that Hafiz has sent. Just getting it now. Okay. Okay. Okay, so Hafiz, if you've got any specific questions about this or things that you were struggling with, let me know, and we can try to discuss them. So I think I've seen this homework before. So I mean, if you can tell me what has changed from the last time we looked at it. So in terms of the grid itself, let's see. Okay, so we're using a 12 column grid. Seems to be doing what you want it to. One thing I can notice here though is in the developer tools, it looks like the CSS you've set for margin is incorrect. So I can see the issue here. Let's just take a look at it on a slightly bigger screen. So it's this line here. So you can see here you've got 0, 20, 0, 20 pixels. So this should also say pixels. So we can only use 0 on its own. Any other numbers, when we're doing margin, for example, need to have the suffix, I guess is the word. So let's save that. Let's just refresh just to see if that margin did anything. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Okay, so as we get smaller, we don't seem to have any responsive code in here. Let me just check. We've got this container. Okay, so minimum width of 720. Okay, so you're saying, okay, as it gets to 721 pixels, then use this grid. But then as we're below it, we don't seem to have anything in particular. Let's just check. Let me just make sure there's not any other ones. So, okay, so grid template rows using auto, fraction auto, which is that doing what we wanted with this bit here? Okay, navigation is not responding. Okay, so let's see what we've got here on this navigation. Okay. So it depends. Like I'm guessing maybe you wanted it to turn into a column or something like that. So if we're taking a mobile first approach, then we need our defaults to be something. And as an aside, this isn't really how we would use root. So root is for variables, whereas you've just got some stuff in here that aren't variables. So we should take that out. In fact, we don't really need root. So what we could do is maybe on the body instead. But maybe the media query is not understood yet. Okay, so from what I gather, it looks like you do understand the media query here. Like if the purpose of it was to, from 721 pixels, do this instead, then cool. What I would suggest you do is just do some really basic media queries just to get your head around it. So, for example, okay, so we've got the body here. Let's do background color, red. Okay, so all of a sudden now we've got this red website. Then in our media query, we could do body, body, background color, blue. This means then from 721 pixels and above, the background color is going to be blue. Let's try it. So we're up to, there we go. So under this happens, inside the media query, it turns to blue. So, okay, so we've got that. So what we need to now do is understand that and have a look at where our navigation is. So what is it? Item 2. So where is item 2? Okay, so let's just grab this again. We're going to just copy it and we'll just put it here. All we really want is this kind of shell, this outside. We do something for item 2 in here. So, okay, so we've got an outline. Now, because we're taking a mobile first approach, let me just get rid of that horrible background color as well. Okay, so mobile first approach, we want it to look how we want it to look on a mobile phone. So that means we're probably dealing with a device that's maybe this size here. So we should, our CSS class, our CSS should be designed for mobile. So we've got, I can see you using flex here, and that's fine. So maybe what we could do is flex flow column. Now, of course, you can do more to sort out the design here, but you could have something like that. So let's copy this flex flow column. And where's our item 2? Here it is. So we can put it there. And then in our media query, for when we get above 720 pixels, we could change this from flex flow column to flex flow row. So now when we come back here, we can see we've got it as a column. Now this needs some work in terms of design, right? But we've got it as a column. That's what we were trying to do. Now as we go above 720 pixels, which we'll get to in a moment, we're at 700. we can see it turns into a row. So that's one way that we could tackle this. Another thing we need to bear in mind is we're getting this kind of not very nice horizontal scroll when we get to a smaller size, and I reckon it's because we've not put a width on the container. See here, we've got container, we've got a height, but we've not got a width. So if we put a width on it of 100%, should start to fix the problem. It looks like there's still something else though. So have we got a width on anything else? Right, so okay, so we're getting a bit better. So one thing we need to remember is our images should have max width 100% on them. Always on any image, you should have that. And we didn't have that on this image here. So let's just go back into our CSS. At the top, we can just do image, max width 100%. So we're starting to get a bit better now. I think have we got rid of the horizontal scroll? Looks like we have. I mean, I'd still put a width on here of 100 pixels. But something's not quite right. Like what is spilling over? Top right, bottom left. Okay, so be careful with using margin left and margin right and width of 100%. If you want some space on the left and right for a container, for the outermost part of your website, a better approach is to use width 100%, but use padding, not margin. So right, this will start to get better. I think there's still something missing here though, because I don't see us using border box. Box sizing, sorry. Okay, so there's a few things here, Hafiz, it's really important that you try to remember. We did cover this in some of the lessons. I have a feeling that you've spent so much time trying to understand grid that you've kind of forgotten some of the other fundamentals, and all of these things need to work in harmony in order to have a design that does what you want it to. It's almost like it's almost like having just some something that you have no control over, and you have to get all of these composite parts to work together in tandem in order to kind of like create this harmony. So the problem here is these things really. So this first selector here, this wildcard selector, box sizing border box, unless you are specifically trying to not, now let me start again. Unless you're specifically trying to use content box, and if you are, it means that you understand it and you know about it. So unless you're trying to do that, you should always have this in your CSS. Always, always, always. You should also always, always, always have image max width 100%. So you need those two things. Another thing is your container, your outermost element, ideally should have width 100% or max width 100%. And that will stop elements spilling over into the and giving you that kind of horizontal scroll. So a couple of things to bear in mind. Now, Hafiz, in fairness, I mean, you've got a website here made entirely with grid, so you can be happy with that. If that was what you were setting out to do, then you've done it. So it's just a couple of these other things that you need to try your best to remember as well as you're going through it. One thing I would say is it's fine to have this kind of 12 column grid, but probably you don't actually need it because you've not got 12 columns or items. It's not a bad thing by any means, but it's just something to kind of consider as well. So we can see here when we look at it, we've got this, but our items are not actually kind of like sat cleanly inside of them. So it's maybe something to think about. Like what I would suggest is if you're trying to get your head around grid, maybe start with something like a four column layout rather than 12. Or even a 2 column layout or a 3 column layout, and get comfortable with that and building designs that fit within those columns, so things don't just kind of spill over, like we can kind of see with the navigation, for example. So yeah, try maybe 2, 3, 4 column grids, get comfortable with that, get good with it, and feel like you know exactly what you're doing, so it gets to that point where it's second nature. Like you don't need to research what CSS you need to write. You just know it. Then when you get to that point, then you can start to expand out and try like 6 columns, 12 columns, maybe even some kind of more peculiar numbers like a 9 column grid or a 7 or 5 column grid and things like that. So yeah, I hope that helps. I'm glad we went through that as well. So, we've got Tade with us. I don't know if maybe we've done your homework already. Or actually, wait, was this something else you wanted to go through? I know you sent me a message earlier on. If you're still there, Tade, just tell me if there is something. Actually, no, to be fair, it was just, you were just talking about the review that we did last time, so it's all good. So, okay, we'll end it there anyway, because we've come up to just over an hour, or about an hour anyway. So I hope that's been useful for anybody who did watch along. And yeah, that's it. So, so just enjoy this kind of Easter weekend for anybody in the world celebrating it. I hope, if you've got extra days off, like national holidays or anything like that, I hope that's some good time to spend with family, friends, and loved ones. And apart from that, we will see each other on Tuesday, I believe now, because I don't think Piero's doing a lesson on Monday because it's a national holiday here. So I believe it's Tuesday, but I'll get him to confirm that with everyone anyway. So, okay, take care, everybody. Bye.